With all the hype that you've been hearing about VIPKID, you might be wondering, does VIPKID have a bad side? You've heard enough about the awesome things that VIPKID can offer, so I want to share with you just the realistic truth behind being a teacher with VIPKID. First of all, when you do sign up with VIPKID, you need a degree. Not just everyone can get into VIPKID. Most people can, because I know there are a lot of people, if you are in the teaching industry, that have already gone to college. You do not need a teaching degree. It can be in any field. You also need some teaching experience. Obviously, you're going to be a teacher, so they want to make sure that you can teach and you have the ability to teach. So you have to give some background. It can be really anything. I taught Sunday school for a while. I was in a classroom for a year and a half, but that was just one of the many things that I put down as my teaching experience. If you homeschooled your kids, that's definitely teaching experience. What is the interview process like? You do have to do a small teaching blurb, but it's really nothing to stress about, I promise. Look it over and make sure that you're prepared, obviously, but don't stress. Most of the interview process is going to be spent answering questions or asking questions to a VIPKID person in China, so you'll get some experience with an adult whose second language is English. Remember, if you can't fully understand the adults during the interview process, you may want to reconsider VIPKID as your career. If you do pass the interview process and you get to move on past the little teaching blurb that you give them, then you'll go into mock class 1 and 2. What are those? You don't always get a mock class 1 and 2. Sometimes you only get a mock class 1 if they think that you are fully prepared to teach certain levels or maybe even all of the levels. This is when you really want to prepare. Make sure that you have some visuals, but don't go out and buy a bunch of things. Do that after you get hired. If you have kids, use some of their toys. They just want to see that you can teach it effectively. If you pass mock class 1 and 2, if you have it, then you're hired. You sign your contract and you jump on board. So what are some things that you might find is a little disappointing after you get hired? First of all, let me save you the hassle of wondering why you're not getting any bookings. You have to be open. If you don't know what bookings are, it's when you open your time slots. You're going to be open at 7:30 a.m., say, and that's when a child decides to book you. Why is it so important to be open in the beginning? It's because there's so many other teachers. VIPKID is highly competitive. There are over 20,000 teachers all over the world. So you really have to market yourself. You have to be the best possible teacher that you can be, even if you have all of your slots open. It's no guarantee that you're going to get booked. I've heard there's some teachers that don't get one booking for the first 2 months after they join VIPKID. I don't know why some teachers get booked just like that within the first week of them signing their contract, and other teachers have to wait 2 months to get their first class. I don't know. I don't think anyone does. But I can tell you that being open definitely helps. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, and you're probably going to have to teach some hours that you're going to say, I didn't sign up for this. But it's how you get regulars. And once you get those regulars, once you make that connection, then you're going to start getting booked a lot more frequently. And speaking of building a connection with some children, it is hard because of the competition. You have a lot of other really good teachers. Go look up some of the other really good VIPKID teachers on YouTube. You're going to see that your competition is very fierce. You have got to bring your best game. Even though people might have told you that you can teach VIPKID classes in your pajamas, not necessarily true. I know for me, I have to wake up at least 15 minutes before my first class so I can just freshen my face and put a little bit of makeup on. Believe it or not, I have a lot of makeup on right now, but I have all of my VIPKID lights shining on me, so there's not a lot of shadows. Can you tell I have a lot of makeup on? So imagine how whitewashed your face looks when you first roll out of bed. Lighting is another thing. You want to have a lot of lights shining on your face. A ceiling light isn't going to be enough. I also got a selfie ring off of Amazon. They're pretty cheap and well worth the investment. You also want to invest in a few other lights. You can watch all sorts of videos on VIPKID lighting. Just know that you are definitely going to have to invest in a little bit of lighting. Backtracking to how competitive VIPKid is, you want to leave awesome feedback for the parents. If you give their kid a really good review, then more than likely they're going to be more tempted to give you a good review. Now, you're not reviewing the students necessarily like they do you, but you are giving the parents feedback on how they did in class. If you tell them that their student didn't do very well, more than likely the parent isn't going to appreciate you, and some teachers even struggle with getting bad parent feedback, and they give them a low rating on how well they teach just because their child didn't cooperate in class. Something that I know a lot of teachers have complained to VIPKid about is if parents give you a low rating, say even lower than a 5 apple rating, which is the highest rating that you can get, they don't have to leave any feedback if they don't want to. So you could get a 3 apple score and you don't know why. That's very frustrating, and I know a lot of teachers have told VIPKid they want them to change that system. If parents give them lower than 5 apples, they should tell us why, because more than likely they're going to be moving on to a new teacher. But we don't know what we did wrong and how we can improve as a teacher. So sometimes it can actually be a little scary to give the parents realistic feedback for their student. Always try to keep it positive. If you're a teacher in a classroom, you know this. You do have to give good, positive feedback. At least give the bad things a little bit of a positive twist if you possibly can. Something new that VIPKid implemented that made all teachers excited was medium cancellations. However, now that medium cancellations are in effect, I've heard that they're not all that they have cracked up to be. If you have kids and you have to cancel class last minute because, say, your child is choking and you have to take them to the ER suddenly, well, VIPKid doesn't excuse that according to what I've heard. Maybe some teachers have had something like that excused, but I've heard a lot of negative feedback on parents having a medical emergency or something that is possibly life-threatening, but since no one died, VIPKid doesn't excuse the cancellations. And if that happens so many times, then obviously your contract is terminated. That is something that I think VIPKid is working on, because they don't want their teachers to be terminated just because they had a family member that was sick in the hospital. I do think that they want the best for their teachers, and they do work towards making everyone happy, the students as well as the teachers. That is one thing that I can say VIPKid does very well on. Maybe they don't always get it right, but at least they do try to implement things that make everyone happy. It's because of that I have decided to stay with VIPKid, and I will probably sign my second contract. I know for sure right now this is exactly what God wants in my life, and it has been such a blessing to be able to stay home with my baby. If you have any other questions about VIPKid that I didn't answer in this video, I would be more than happy to answer them. I'll also put my link for VIPKid in the description below in case you haven't signed up yet. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful at all, so I know there were at least a few people out there who I was able to help. Bye!